Like I told you, like if we say functions are first class objects in Python or first class values in Python, meaning if I define any function like define function and print hello, then what happened is an object gets created, a function object gets created. Okay, and then yeah, good morning Shikawat, good morning Diljit, Rajshekhar, Nitesh, okay, everyone, good morning. So a function object gets created. Similar to the way you created a is equal to 10, then what happens, an object gets created and both a and b will be referring to the same object, right? So something similar, functions are also objects in Python. So it gets created and functions will be referring to that object. Second point, we talked about like function to another reference. Okay, like we seen that we can define a function, okay, and we return a value like return hello, and we seen that if I say x is equal to function, in this time you're actually calling a function. Whenever you put the parenthesis, it means you're invoking a function, and whatever the function returns, you will be storing in x. Okay, you'll be storing back in x. But when you just write this line x is equal to function without parenthesis, actually you're not invoking the function, you are just assigning this reference to a variable called x, assigning a reference to a variable called x here. So x will be of a reference which is also pointing to functions. Okay, something like this. Okay, so whenever you try to print x, it will print address of that particular thing. Okay, and finally we talk about passing a function to another function. We seen that a function takes a function as an argument, and we generally call it as higher order function. So we seen a sorted function, and we seen that how it can take a reference to the function, and how can we sort based on our requirement. Okay, so that it can take other things. So we are going to discuss about higher order functions in detail in this functional programming concept, because this is one of the very important concept of functional programming. Okay, so functional programming is actually a very beauty uh, and it's very much in demand these days. Okay, you can do some research on functional programming. You can see that how much big in demand these days about this functional programming. So let's get into our fourth point and let's discuss what is this fourth point. So let's talk about something like returning a function from a function. Okay, returning a function from a function. So functions can be like, that's what we are talking about. Functions are treated as an object in Python, can be assigned to another reference, can be pass a function to another function as an argument. Not only that, we can also return a function from a function. So it's like something like it's an argument. It's like general values, like the way you have passed integer values, the way you have passed float values, the way you have passed different kinds of values. Similarly, you can pass functions as argument, and you can return that argument as well. You can treat them like a normal values. That's what the definition is talking about, using functions as values. So you can see all the way I'm treating function as other values. Actually, I'm treating functions as other values actually. So let us talk about what is this returning a function from a function and what is meant by nested function. We'll talk about in detail. Okay, to explain, to go with this, I would like to go to a Python ideally. I would like to show you some concept so that you get clarity. Then we'll talk about, let us first talk about the nested function. Then we'll talk about like what is the general problem we will face away with the thing. So let's get started here. So a script is ready. So these are the functions we define all the way, right? And let's go here and talk about some function. For example, I will be defining a function called something called area. Okay, something called area function. Okay, so there will be some time, there will be a requirement that you need to write a function inside another function. The basic idea of writing a function inside another function will be a security kind of thing. Okay, a security kind of thing where you wanted to define a function so that the inner function can access the variables of the outer function, and you don't want that function to be accessed directly, then you can always define that function as an inner function. So how can we define a function as an inner function, also called as nested function? Let me have some variable. Let's say pi is equal to 3.14, the variable I define in a function. Now I will define a function called calculate. I will define a function called calculate, which takes the radius value, and I will calculate the radius. Let's say a is equal to pi multiplied by r, okay, power 2, So that way I can find the area, and I can print that area. Or I can return whatever we want. So I'll say area is equal to, I will print that area in A. Okay, so this is my function now. As you can see, this is a nested function. Okay, because suppose I wanted to calculate area of different things, like area of a circle, area of parameter, many functions I wanted to define it, suppose, and all. So I will define the function called area, and I will define a function called calculate. So majorly we'll go for nested functions whenever we have a function where we are using the variables of the outer function, which are cannot be accessed to outsiders, right, which are local to that function. So basically we know that scope of the variables will be like local. Whatever the variables you will define inside the function will be local to that function. Okay, whatever the variables you define will be local to the function. So remember, if we talk about the scope of the variable, there are two scopes. One is called local scope, the other one is called global scope. So you can define it as local scope, okay, and you can define the global scope, whatever you want. But generally we have a risk with a global scope because anybody can access and change the value. So that's why, for a little bit of security point of view, we are talking today, that for that reason we can declare a variable inside the function, and it can be used by the inner functions or the nested function. So it will be secured. So we are trying to achieve some security here now. But one problem is, can you tell me how to get the area now? I wanted to print the area for some radius. If I run this code, obviously there will be no answer, right? It will not print you anything. Now how to access that function? I mean to say how to invoke that, how to invoke the function and get the result. Any guess? Okay, Vamshi thinks we need to call area.calculate. We already nested them, Shikawat. We already nested them here. Now our thing is we have to call this function now. So the question is how to call the function. First, like obviously, can I call calculate directly? Can I call this value calculate directly and access them? Do you think it's possible? Okay, no, obviously, right? Kudal thinks no, Nitin thinks no, Aditya thinks no. Okay, fine. So everybody thinks no, we cannot call this way. So it is going to give an error saying that name calculate is not defined, because that is our major agenda. Like we wanted to make this function secure. So obviously accessing them directly will make no sense. Like for example, I'll take an example of the college. Like college is a outer function, and we have inner function like library, imagine. Okay, because library has to access all the data provided by the college, like for example name of the student, roll number of the student, okay, all such kind of information, branch and everything, whatever they defined by the college, that inner function wanted to use those data. So then we can define them as an inner function. Having a library outside the college does not make sense here now, because a part of the college should be inner function. So something like that, if you wanted to have a situation where you wanted to define a function, because I cannot call the calculate directly. I cannot call the calculate directly. That's the thing. First thing here, that I cannot call this function directly here, because it's an inner function. It's hidden actually, Narendra. Nobody knows. Like one question to you, like I just took an example of college and library. Can outsider access the library directly? Can outsider comes and access the library directly? No, right? So that's the agenda actually. We don't want that people to access the function directly. That's why we have written inside another function. Okay, that's one reason. Another reason is all the variables defined in this function can be used by this function. These are the two main reasons why I have defined the nested function. I hope it's clear. Like good question from Narendra. Like why we wanted to define this nested function. First of all, the basic reason why we wanted to define the nested function is I wanted to use the variables provided by the function, because see, generally these variables cannot be used by other functions. These variables cannot be used by other function. Like for example, I have a function called fun. Okay, I hope I don't have that function. Okay, fun1. So if I wanted to use that pi value here now, print pi, you will be getting an error that function cannot use pi now. You will be getting an error that I don't know what is pi. I will call function 1 now. You'll be getting an error saying that what is this pi, I don't know, it is not defined. So generally variables which we define inside the function can be used only within the function. I cannot use anywhere else. I cannot use anywhere else because they have local scope. They have local scope. So if you define a function which is having some variables and other function wanted to use that variable, then you have to define it as a nested function. Then you have to define it as a nested function now, because only nested function can use those variables. Only nested functions can use those variables now. Okay, I hope it's clear for everyone that why we have to define nested function. And also another reason is security reason. We'll get more clarity when we see a couple of examples today. It is little tricky, but a lot of important interview questions we will be discussing today. Okay, so please listen. So it will cover a lot of interview questions today. Okay, so in future as well, as I told you, we started little advanced concepts, so complexity will definitely increase. Okay, and also a lot of interview questions we will be covering, which will be very helpful if we are going for any data science interview or machine learning interview or simply a Python interview. So they'll be going to test you whether you know functional programming and all. So they'll be asking all these questions to you. Okay, so this is the thing. So our question remains same, like how to access now. Okay, Rajshekhar, as you lost connectivity, I was asking the same question, guys. I didn't explain anything. That my question remains same, like how to access, how to call that function now. Let's try all the way, like as you say. First, calculate did not work. Somebody said me like I should call calculate area dot calculate, okay, and pass the value here, radius. Still, it did not work. Like function object has no attribute called calculate. Okay, it's telling you that function is a reference, right? And using that reference you're trying to call, saying that there is no attribute called calculate, so you cannot call them like this. So this syntax does not work. Any other syntax? Any other syntax? Okay, okay, fine. So somebody says that area of calculate, so it means something like you're passing an argument, so obviously it will take calculate, does not take any argument. Okay, so no way to define to call like this, so you cannot do all this way. Okay, so these are all I just wanted to show you that these are the wrong way of calling. You may end up with some error. You may end up with error. Even you cannot call like this, area dot calculate of 2 will also not possible. None type object has no attribute call, because this will return none and you're trying to call this with the function now. So that way it is not possible. Okay, understood everyone? That all these syntaxes will not help you. Okay, so how to solve this problem is, that is what our topic is all about, returning a function from a function now. Now, if you are defining the inner function, then we need the reference of the inner function, which is known by the outer function only. Okay, this is known by the outer function, the reference. So what is the responsibility of the outer function is, what is the responsibility of the outer function is, it has to return the reference of the inner function. Meaning I'm returning a function from a function now. This is called as returning a function from a function. So what you're doing, calculate, you know that calculate is a reference to the inner function. So when the outer function returns the reference to the outer inner function, then I can store that reference and then I can call them. I can store the reference, I can call them. This time, you know, when I say x is equal to area, x is equal to area, you know what x will contain now? What x will contain now? X is equal to area with parenthesis. What will be the value of x? Very good. Reference to calculate actually. Okay, it's a reference to calculate now. Now when I print x, it will show you that function area locals, okay, dot calculate at so and so address. It is telling you that I am pointing to inner function now. Now with the help of x, I can call the inner function and I can print the result. Getting my point, everyone? That whenever you define a nested function, okay, you should return a value which is nothing but the reference of the inner function, and you can assign them. In this case, I can go with Ubuntu syntax. I can also call area because it's returning the reference now. Now I can calculate. Now it will work. Oh, function object has no attribute calculate because it's not returning the, it should return the address anyhow, area, and then I am calling that on calculate. But still, dot is not working out here because we cannot use dot for that reason. Got the point, guys? I hope it's clear for everyone now. Okay, let me just give a quick review of what we discussed. So we started a topic called returning a function from a function. No, actually you cannot use dot operator, Vamshi. Dot operator can be used only for the objects. Okay, if you have the methods inside it, so dot operator will not work in this case. X already contains the reference for that, you can directly call them. So we'll need to try to understand the concept of how we call it. Yeah, no, that's what. Even after that, you cannot access them with X. X are already containing a reference. You cannot use dot operator there. Generally, dot operator means you are accessing the attributes of that particular object. And that does not have that attribute. So that's why we got an error that function has no attribute like calculate. Okay, so good. Anybody else having any question, please ask here so that we will answer, so that we go for major topic. We haven't discussed the major topic yet. We're trying to understand nested function so that we will go for a major topic actually. So returning a function from another function, the main use case will be nested function, where you will return a function from another function. So nested function means function defined inside another function is called nested function. So we define a function called area, which has a pi value, and we define another function called calculate. We define another function called calculate here, where you have a is equal to pi r square. So that will actually calculate. Inner function should be written, of course, Kodal. Inner function should be written by the outer function compulsory. Inner function should be written. So if you see here, if I also replace this with return, there is a difference between returning a and returning calculate. Inner function is returning the result, which is a value, but outer function will return the reference of the inner function. So when we also return some operation of outside function and inner function both, yeah, that is possible. You see, I'm returning for both, Satyam, as you said. I'm returning for both now, the inner function as well as outer function in this case. So in this case, what happens now when I run this code now? When I run this code here, okay, if I say x is equal to area, actually it is containing a reference to the inner function. Okay. Now when I say x is equal to or y is equal to x parenthesis, means you're calling the inner function. Now if you print x now, oh sorry, I need to pass one argument. That's why I got an error, because it's taking one argument, right? So radius. So when I press enter now, if I print X, X contains the address, Y contains the result. Got the point now? Because inner function is returning the value, but outer function is returning the reference. There's a difference between return A and return calculate. A is a result, calculate is a name of the inner function. Got it, Satyam? I hope this is what your question. When both returns the value, then how to do it? That's what generally outer function does not meant for that. Outer function does not meant to calculate here. The outer function is only defined so that I will be having inner functions and there I will perform the operation. Okay, there I will perform the operation. That's what yes, always return statement should be the end. That's true, Kudal. Return statement should always be at the end. But return statement, if it is there in the middle, it should be in a condition like if and all. So obviously, after return statements, nothing will get executed. That's true. So writing a return statement should be at the end generally. Okay. Otherwise, it should be inside the condition so that based on the condition only you will return. You will not write return directly because after that statements will not be writing. Yes, like functions, but like hide functions. That's true, Satya. It's something like hiding a function, actually. It's something like hiding a function so that only outsiders can access with the help of outer function. Okay, I think if you see the real use case of this function, you'll get some clarity about it. You'll get some clarity about it. Okay, shall we go for an example now? You can have it, guys. You can have many nested function, and you know that you can return the multiple values in Python. No problem. Let us go for an example. You'll get some clarity about it. Let's go for an example. You'll get some clarity like what is the use of the inner function. Okay, let's see here. Now listen very carefully, and it's a very important concept. You'll get little clarity like about this function. Okay, so what I will do now is I'll define one function now. See this very carefully and try to answer. Okay, this is as I told you, one of the very important topic to be known. Okay, for interview point of view or functional programming point of view. Okay, from now actually your research should start, guys. I told you like these are the subjects in itself. Like functional programming is a subject in itself. This can be a separate course actually. Functional programming using Python. It can be a separate course for 2 months where we can teach you in detail about functional programming and how we write functional programming, what is functional programming, okay, and making some applications using functional programming. And the next concept is called object-oriented programming using Python. It's a subject, is a course in itself again. So your work should start now because instead of spending 2 months, we are spending a week now. Then what you have to do is you have to do a lot of background work so that you can get a job alone in functional programming. You can get a job alone in object-oriented programming. If you tell that I'm an object-oriented programmer, I know how to do object-oriented programming in Python, you can just get a job that is what you do with Java, C Sharp and all, right? After learning C Sharp, after learning Java, you do get job because you know object-oriented concept and you know how to implement with Java and you know how to implement with C Sharp and everything. Something similar. So that's why I told you this is like job-oriented topics actually. These are all job-oriented topics. So that's why a lot of job like interview questions will be covered. So this is one of the very important interview question. Listen very carefully. Now suppose I have something like counter. I have a function like counter, okay, the counter function, which is responsible for counting it. So I will declare a variable called count is equal to 1. I will print this count. I will print this count and update the count. Count plus 1 is equal to 1. Count plus 1 is equal to 1. Sorry, count plus is equal to 1. Okay, this is a function now, count. So there was a function called counter. Okay, I define a variable called count is equal to 1, and I print that count and I will increment that count. I'll increment that count. Is this function clear for everyone? The name of the function is counter. Okay, and count is equal to 1, and I'm printing that count and updating that count value. Updating that count value. Now let's run this code. Now tell me what happens if I call the function. What happens if I call the function now? I am calling counter. What will be the output if I call the function? I'll show you here. Oh, I just kept C capital. So I'll do that. Okay, meantime, I'll show you how they look like. So this is my function. I'll put C as capital now. Okay, I'm calling counter. Very good. It will print 1 now. Counter will print 1 because it goes here counter. Count will be 1. It will print 2, and before leaving, it will become 2. It will become 2. Next time, if I call counter now, what will be the result? Next time, if I call the counter, what will be the result? Okay, I got few outputs, but others as well. Okay, few of you thinks it's 1, few of you thinks it's 2. Okay, whether it will be 2 or 1, we need to see it. So basically, one thing I would like to tell you, this variable, whatever you define a variable inside the function, they are called local variables. They are called local variables, and they will have local scope actually. Local scope means, okay, whenever you call the function, a local stack will be created, and local variable will be created inside that local stack, and it will print that count, and then it will update the count in the stack, no doubt. But generally, you know what happens when we exit the function, when we come out of the function, that local stack, whatever it got created, will be deleted. All the data will be popped out from the stack, and that particular stack will be deleted. So it means no, that count is not exist now. After that counter, the count is not exist. That is why it's called it as a lifetime of a variable. So if we talk about the scope and lifetime of a variable, then local variables have a local scope and local lifetime, meaning they are available only inside the function, as we seen in our previous example, and that lifetime is also local, that it is not available, it is not alive after that function call. So local scope means within a function, sir. Yes, Prashanti, but it's about local lifetime, meaning that the count is alive only within the function. When we go out of the function, the count is dead, means it's deleted actually. Now when I call the counter function again, the count will be initialized and it will print the count again, it will be updated. So that's why the output will be 1 again. You call this counter function for number of times, the output will always be 1. Suppose if I call this counter for 3 times here or 4 times, whatever it may be, if I keep calling this function, okay, if I keep calling this function, then it will give the value 1 1 1 1 in all the way now. Understood why we are getting this answer as 1 1 1? Because the scope is local. So one stack is getting created, and every time the function ends, the stack gets deleted, and the count value will become 1 again. And again it will print and update the value. Again it will print, update the value. If you wanted to see a diagram, let me show you a diagram how it will be working. Let me show you a diagram like how it will be working actually. So okay, here we are. Let me just get ready with the screen. Okay, here it cannot be count plus is equal to 1. No, that's wrong syntax, right? It cannot be count plus is equal to 1. Now what happens now? A count variable will get created. Okay, something like a count object will be created, and it is containing 1 initially. It will print 1. Okay, so 1 getting printed and it's becoming 2. Okay, it's becoming 2. When what happens when we come out of this function? When we come out of the function, what happens now? This object reference will be deleted. So nobody is pointing to 2 anymore now. So that's why the reference is getting deleted from that stack. That reference is getting deleted from the stack now. But when I just call the function again object is getting created called 1, and still the reference is pointing called count. It will print 1 again, and it will become 2 before leaving. And once the function leaves, the counter will be deleted again. The count will be deleted again, and then again you call the function, an object getting created called 1, and count is referring to it, and again it will print 1, and before leaving it becomes 2 now. So every time it's becoming 2, but once we come out, the object will be deleted. The reference will be deleted for it. Anyhow, I'm just showing you more objects, but in heap you know that no more objects exist. So that's why this is what is happening when I just write the count function. That's why the output of this program will be 1 1 1. The output of this program will be 1 1 1. It's incrementing, Shikawat, but it's incrementing for inside the function, but when we come out of that, the count is getting deleted. That's why there is no use of count plus 1. It's incrementing for that function for that time, but when we come out, it is no more available now. Got it, Shikawat? Any questions regarding this concept? Please ask. Because if you ask the question, I will be clear, because to explain the major topic, I have to discuss you for subtopics. So that's what I am doing. Again, this is not our major topic for today. Okay, so I will tell you what is our major topic for today. But all these things, nested function, returning a function from function, okay, local scope, local lifetime, all these are the subtopics, okay, for our major topic actually. So you need to ask questions for this topic so that you can see that each subtopic is clear, so that you can understand our actual topic for today. We actually intention is to increment, guys, but it's not happening. Even if we return that count, it will return 2, no doubt, but every time it will return 2 in that case as well. Even though you return, it will return 2 only. If you return, then it will return 2. Yeah, very good, Nitin, very good. So that's what the solution for this problem is. Instead of declaring it locally, I can declare globally, because there are 2 scopes I told you, local scope and global scope. Okay, there are 2 scope, local scope and global scope. So local means it's available locally. I just yeah, it's just for understanding purpose of local variable. That's true. Thank you, Kudal. Okay, just to make, I just wrote this line to understand the purpose of the local variable. Thank you, Kudal, for helping. I hope you all agree that why it's incremented, but still it's not getting affected. The reason is because to make you understand what is meant by local variable. So local variable is only available inside the function. Whatever the changes you did will not be available outside. That's what I wanted to show you. That's what Kudal means. Thank you. That whatever the changes you do in the local variable will not affect the outside, or will not affect the other functions. But to overcome this problem, the solution for this problem is I can declare this variable globally. I can declare this variable globally now. When I declare this variable globally, then one stack will be created for this script. One stack will be created for this script. Count will be referring to that object now. Count will be pointing to that object. Now what happens when I call the counter? The count already got created and the value is 1. When I call the counter, it will print the value and update the value. Second time when I call the function, it will print the updated value now, because count is not deleted, because it's created in the global stack. So we'll have local stack and global stack. So global stack will be for the complete script, and local stack will be only for that particular function now. So as I created this variable outside the function, it is called global variable. Okay, and it is global, and the lifetime is throughout the script. So that's why it is available, it will not get dead. So it will print 2 next time. And when I update, when I call the function again, it will print 2, and then it updates to 3. Now when I call the function, it prints 3 and update to 4. Okay, and when I call the function again, it prints 4 and update to 5. So I'm calling for 4 times. The output will be 1 2 3 4. The output will be 1 2 3 4 now. Okay, now I run this program now. Now you will see that the output is getting as I expected. Oh, that's one of the another problem. You cannot update the global variable directly like this. You cannot update the global variable directly like this, because he's thinking that count is a local variable, because he's thinking that it's a local variable. So there is one thing you need to tell, you need to tell them it's a global. So you need to use a keyword called global to tell them that count is a global variable, it's not a local variable. Yeah, that's true, Satyam. We have to declare global count, because I'm using that global variable here called count. So that's why I must declare it as global count. Okay, so let's run the code now, and you see here that is printing me 1 2 3 4. That it's printing me 1 2 3 4. Please try to understand this problem and ask if you have any questions. So we just discussed about global variable versus local variable. We just discussed global variable versus local variable. So two concepts we discuss today. One concept we discuss is nested function. Okay. Another concept we discuss is how a function returns another function. We seen with the help of nested function. And the next topic we have discussed today is local variable versus global variable. So local variable, we discussed that if we declare any local variable, then the scope of that variable will be inside the function, and the lifetime of the variable is also inside the function. Meaning when we come out of the function, the variable will be deleted and it cannot be accessed from the outside the function. Okay, that is what we learn. And second thing, we learn about the global variable and global scope. We learn that a global variable has a global scope and global lifetime, meaning they can be available throughout the script and they can also be remembered. Like if you update the value now, then it will update the value in the global stack, not in the local stack. And whenever you are trying to access them inside, or you wanted to update that value, you must declare it as global, because you have to tell them it's not a local variable, it's a global variable. Because you know that when I say count is equal to count plus 1, Python thinks that you are trying to declare a local variable called count and you are using them before declaring it. So that's where Python will give you an error. That's why we got an error when I say count plus is equal to 1 directly, when I didn't declare it as global. So there's a keyword called global to tell them it's a global variable. It's a global variable. So this is all about the explanation about local versus global, and how this problem can solve using our global variable. Understood, everyone? Any questions? Any questions regarding local versus global? Okay, thank you, Bull. Okay, I know, like can have always questions, because I can understand. Uh, they are okay because they are simple topics, but still we may have some questions, so that it will help us for next topic, because all these topics are interrelated. So that's why if one topic is clear, the next topic will be much clearer. Okay, thank you, Nagaraja. Thank you, Satyam. Thank you, Rajshekhar. Thank you, Vamshi. Thank you, Abhishek. Like we declare global count, like we did not write local count. No, no need, Narinder. Because local is always local to that function. So we'll not be having local count. Okay, we'll not be having local count. Okay, thank you for your question. And Roshan also says clear. Thank you, Roshan. Okay, so let's go and talk about something now. Okay, let's go and talk about something. You know what? People generally, uh, do you agree that global variables are actually should not be used because they are risky, they are insecure? We've seen that the solution for this is global variable, but also global variables are risk to use, because as the scope is throughout the program, it can also be changed by other program. The count variable, if it changed by other program, then our function will get affected. Like for example, I define one more function now. For example, somebody came to know there is a count variable. Suppose I'm counting this for some reason. Yeah, any function can change the value of a global variable. So I will define one function called virus. Suppose I'm defining a function called virus, where I know that there is a global variable called count. So I will go here and declare that as global called count, and I will change that value now. I will change that value because it can be changed by any person. I will change it as something like this, -9876, something I will change it. So what if we write count is equal to 1 after the function? What happens? Wherever you write, after the function, before the function, it's okay. Inside the script, you can write any variable. It's not necessary that it should be before the function. Inside the script, it can be anywhere. Got it? Okay, thank you. So now what happens now? I define a virus function and I will call the function now called virus. Now you know what happens, that the answer will be not 1, 2, 3, 4 as expected. The answer will be something else now. The answer will be something else. You seems like, okay, the function is doing malfunctioning. Okay, but actually your function is not doing wrong. It's not about the counter function. Okay, it's about the virus function. It's about the virus function. Okay, whenever you are calling this counter function now, okay, it is giving you a different answer now. Counter is giving you a different answer every time. It's expected as 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's giving a different count. Imagine you wrote this program for counting the number of students every time, but it's giving you a different result now, what is not expected, because the risk of global is any other function can change your value of the variable. Understood everyone? What is the problem with local and what is the problem with global? So again, we end up with a problem. We started, our agenda was to count the number of number of variables. That is what our intention, to count the number of times I'm calling the function. So every time I call the function, I want to make a count of it. So that's what our intention. So first time I made with a local variable, it did not work for me because it's every time printing 1, 1, 1. Then we came to know, okay, local variable has a local scope and local lifetime. So that's why it will get deleted once the function gets completed. So that's why it's printing 1 every time. Okay, then we seen that, okay, there is an option called global variable. I can declare the variables as global as well. So I declare the variable globally, but still I'm facing the problem. Still I'm facing the problem. First time it seems like, yeah, end up with problem global variable. That's true, Kudal. Okay, we have got the solution like it's printing 1, 2, 3, 4 as expected. But again, we end up with a problem that a global variable can be accessed by other functions and can change and can change. Okay, so that way we are ending with another problem now, that global variables are insecure. Global variables are insecure. So how to solve this problem? So Python has given you one nice feature called closures. Python has given you one nice feature called closures. So closures are non-local variables. It's also called as non-local variables. So closures or non-local variables are the concept for security purpose. So basically, the reason we use these closures or we use this non-local variable, the first reason is, okay, a closure is a very important concept in interview. They'll ask you what is closures in Python. What is closures in Python? So what is closures in Python? A closure, some form of a closure provides, closure provides some form of data hiding. A closure provides some form of data hiding. So it's generally used for data hiding actually. So with Python closures, we don't need to use global variable. Okay, with this, we don't need to use global variable. We don't need to use global variables now. So it is an alternate for global variable. So whenever you have a way of using global variable, Python says that you go for closures because it gives you data hiding. The data will be hidden. It cannot be accessed by outsider. And also you don't need to use global variable. Okay, so sometimes they referred as a non-local variable as well. Let us see how to write this program using closures. Let us write how to write the program using closures. Closures are generally written in the form of nested functions, guys. Remember, closures will always be written in the form of nested functions. So I'm going to solve this problem. Let it have the virus again. Still, we'll have this virus function. I will not delete this virus function now. But let me show you how do we write the function here. How do we write a function here where I'm using this closures property, so that both the problem will be solved, so that I can count it. Yeah, I'll just open the blackboard. See here now. So I told you closures is one of the concept in Python. What it does, a closure provides some form of data hiding. So we generally use for data hiding, to hide your data so that it will be secured. So closure generally used for security purpose. Closure generally used for security purpose. Okay, we use for security purpose. Now it provides you some form of data hiding so that outsiders should not access your data, and we don't need to use global variable. So it's an alternate for your global variables. Actually, it's an alternate for global variables because we just seen that global variables are quite risky to use. Global variables are risky to use. Okay, so let's go here and talk about it. Let's go here and talk about it. Okay, I will be defining the same function, but I will be defining in the form of nesting. So whatever we learned today, let's put all together for next half an hour. Let's put all together so that we can understand what is this closures in Python. So I will define a function called counter. I will define a function called counter now. Okay, I will define a function called counter. And here I will define another function here. I will define another function here. But before that, I will declare a variable here called count is equal to 0 or count is equal to 1. I'll declare a variable here called count is equal to 1. Then I will define one inner function. You know that the inner function is generally provide some sort of security. Do you agree that inner function do perform or do provide some sort of security? That's what we learn when we discuss about the inner function. Okay, so that's what I am doing. And also the reason why I'm defining a nested function is something different here now. I will explain you what is happening here. So I will define a function called inc for increment. Inc for increment. Its job is to print that value and increment the value. Its job is to print the value and increment the value. So again, I will say count plus is equal to 1, or I can write count is equal to count plus 1 to make you a little bit understand. And we also know that the outer function should return the reference of the inner function, then only I can call them. Is this function okay for all of you? That I have a function called counter and it's using count is equal to 1. Okay, there's a local variable for this counter. I define one inner function. First thing, the inner function can access the count. Yes, because it's defining outer function. So we learn that inner function can access them. And also I'm updating the value and incrementing the value. Do you see any problem with this function now? Do you see any problem with this function? Or if no, then what will be the output of the program and how to call them? Please help all the way how to call the inner function and what will be the output of this program. And if you see any problem, please let me know that no, this will not work, it will give an error. So option is whether it will give an error or no error. If no error, then how to call the inner function and how to print the value and what will be the output. Okay, Shikawat thinks that it will be no error. It's looking fine. Yeah, virus cannot access count now. That's true. One thing is very clear that virus cannot access the count because it's not global now. Okay, it's not global. It's inside the function. So one thing is very clear that this cannot access. So, but we'll not get error, guys. We cannot get error. So that will be okay. Yes, very good. Count is like a global to inner. Yeah, without returning, it will be a problem. Now it's fine. That's what Shikawat thinks. Yeah, that's fine. It's an inner function, Narendra. Define increment is an inner function. The way I define that inner function here, right? You see both the way it's looking same, right? This both are looking same. Here area, the name is counter. Pi value, here I declare count. Calculating, it takes parameter, but it does not take parameter. Here is a logic, here is a logic. Okay, and finally I'm returning the inner function, looking same. So I just wrote exactly same. I wrote exactly same. But here the purpose is different. Here the purpose is different. Here the purpose is don't want to use global variable. I wanted to provide security for this count variable. I wanted to provide security for this count variable. Okay, first of all, I will tell you, we should tell about global variable inside inner function. Okay, that's what Kudal. So Kudal is going very good today. So that's what my thing. Don't you think that this will give an error? Because I am trying to access this count is equal to count plus one. The program Python thinks that you are trying to use a variable called count. You're trying to declare a variable called count locally. So he will give an error at this particular line. We already seen this before, right? When I try to add that count value when it was global. So same problem here. Same problem here. So when I run this code now, actually I will get an error. When I call this counter, I need to say x is equal to counter, right? X is equal to counter. When I say counter, it worked fine. When I call x now, I will be getting an error that local variable cannot use before assignment. It's saying local variable cannot use before assignment. So I got this line number 75 actually somewhere. We got an error where I'm saying count is equal to count plus 1, which is not correct. How to resolve this problem first of all? How to resolve this problem? I hope you understood. So today, every time we are ending with some problem and we are looking for solution. So it's a different approach of learning. So I'm just ending with some problem so that I can make you realize that, okay, we are just thinking this will be a solution, but some other problem we are ending up with, how to overcome that problem. Okay. But is it a global variable? We access them, but we didn't change them. Accessing is different and changing is different, Ubul. Good question from Ubul. Here also pi is a global variable, but we use them, right? We use them. I didn't got any error there. But here using is okay. Using is okay, but you're trying to change the value. So he thinks that you see this statement, for them it's thinking that you're declaring a local variable now, count. You're declaring a local variable count and updating the local variable. That will be a problem, Ubul. If you're using them directly, no problem. Up to here, no problem, Ubul. If you're just using them, no problem. When you try to change them now, when you try to change them here, it means that you're trying to create a local variable. That's why he's complaining. He's not complaining that you cannot access them. He's complaining that you are trying to create a local variable. So you need to, actually it's getting into confusion. Yes. Okay, it's getting into confusion that it's a local variable or global variable or whatever, what it is actually. He's asking you. And he's telling you that local variable cannot be used before assignment. He's thinking that you're trying to use local variable called count before assignment. That's why he's thinking that. No, but count is not a global variable. Do you agree? Do you all agree that count is not a global variable? I didn't declare outside the function. It's inside the function. It's local to counter, but global to inner function. That's true. But it's not actually global, so I cannot use global keyword here. I cannot use global keyword. When I use global keyword now, when I use global keyword, you see what happens now. Okay, when I use global keyword here, it's invalid syntax. It's invalid syntax then because I cannot initialize them. I cannot initialize them. So using global keyword is not allowed here. So after increment function, can I use count plus 1? No. Then it will not affected, guys. It will not get affected. Okay, so that's why here we have to use another keyword. Okay, here instead of global, we also have one more keyword called non-local. So it's neither global nor non-local. So that's why it's called non-local keyword. Understood everyone now? It's neither global nor local. So that's why it is non-local variable. It's a non-local variable for count. I'm telling that it's a non-local. No, not here actually, sorry. Here it should be like this only. I need to declare here actually, sorry. Here I should declare. Okay, I should say non-local. Non-local count. Count is a non-local variable. Then it will not have any problem. Then it will not have any problem now. Now I will run this code. It will not have any problem. I will say x is equal to counter. X is equal to counter, perfectly worked. When I say X, it print 1. When I say X, it print 2. When I call again X, it prints 3. When I call again X, it's print 4. And also, we already have a virus function. Does it got affected because of the virus function? It's taking global count. He's thinking that, okay, there is a variable called global variable called count, but actually are fooling him this time. There is no global variable called count. So don't you think that our program is working fine and is also secured now? It's performing some data hiding. That count is hidden from outsider now. Because only one stack gets created for the counter. That's what the purpose of local nested function again. That's the use of nested function. I hope the people who got a doubt at the beginning, what is the use of the nested function? I hope you got it little clarity. Like whenever you get this situation, not only about counter, whenever you get the situation like you wanted to use some global variable, then always you can go for this concept. Always you can go for this concept. This concept is in Python is called closures. This concept is called closures now. See, global variables are the variables which we define outside the function. They are called global variable, and that will be used by every program. And if any program, if you wanted to change that value, you have to declare that variable as global. Then only it will differentiate between local variable and global variable. First thing. And second thing is the global variable is risky. It's insecure. Anybody can change the value as you have seen. So I'm declaring one variable inside the function. So nested function wanted to use this variable now. It has to declare non-local because it's not global. So that's why there is another keyword called non-local, telling them it's neither global nor local. You treat them as a non-local function. That's why I wrote the concept name as non-local variable. Non-local variable. So closure is nothing but non-local variable. Okay. So where we did not need to use global variable, and also a closure provides some form of data hiding. It provides some sort of data hiding now. So data is hidden, and also I'm getting the correct answer. Virus cannot access them, and I can get the answer as 1, 2, 3 and all. So please combine all the things we learned today so that you will get clarity. What is meant by nested function? What is meant by a function returning a function? What is meant by scope? What is meant by lifetime? What is meant by closures and non-local variables? So we learned many things today, and the purpose is to understand what is meant by closures. But anyhow, subtopics can also be interview questions like scope of the local variable, scope of the global variable, lifetime of a local variable, lifetime of a global variable. Okay, what is nested function? In Python, can we return a function reference? Yes, we can return a function reference. And finally, what is closure? What is meant by data hiding? What is mean? How can I avoid using global variables? So many questions can come up in interviews with this particular topic. So please note down these interview questions, possibly like if you're feeling like they're important, and can do some research on that, can read those questions once again. Okay, do Google's a little bit. You'll get more clarity about like what kind of questions can be expected and what is the answer for that. It gives a little good clarity about that. Understood, everyone? Shall we go for one more important interview topic now? Okay, very good. Thank you, Vishwajit. Thank you, Satyam. Let me check with everyone now that is this topic is clear for everyone, because I'm going to go for next important topic called decorators. Okay, it's again next confusing topic, but you have to understand in next 15 minutes. So listen very carefully. Okay, let's say what is meant by decorator. Okay, so what is a general terminology of decorator? What is meant by decorating? What is meant by decorating? Okay, I'll take an example. Making more appealing. Okay, Shikawat, thank you. Okay, for example, you have For example, this is your house. This is your house actually. Okay, this is your house. Suppose you have some function. You have some function at your home. Like for example, yeah. Okay, very good, very good. I will go with Rajshekhar thing. Only aesthetic use, mean only for that particular purpose we will use that. Okay, that's what mean by decorating actually. The appropriate definition. Thank you, Rajshekhar, that it's used for that particular purpose. So remember the definition from Rajshekhar, that will help you to understand what is meant by decorator actually. So a function, generally I suppose I have created this house now, right? So I wanted to have some function at home, maybe a marriage function, a birthday function, or some sort of function at your house. You do decorate your house, right? Like a function hall, you do decorate. Why do you decorate actually? That's my question. Why do you decorate your house as a, like for example, instead of taking a marriage hall, you wanted to, because your house is big enough and it has all the space and everything, so you wanted to decorate your house so it should not look like a house, it should look like a function hall, so that you can arrange some function there. Okay, maybe a marriage function, so it's look good, right? If you directly, if you without decoration, if you just call people at your house, yeah, for good looking, it's not only for good looking, guys. Don't you think that it's here Rajshekhar definition suit much better? Only aesthetic use for that. Only for that particular use, I'm decorating it. It's not the intention to look goodable. That may be one of the reason in this scenario. But I wanted to decorate so that people not think like it as a house. It should look like a function hall. Agree? Yes, right? So that's what the decorator meaning actually. Okay, or I can say a change to that function for that particular use. Yeah, a change to that function. I'm changing that actually function so that we can use for that particular purpose. Now I'll go for an example. Let's see where we can use these decorators. Where we can use this decorators in Python. Suppose I define this function. Suppose someone else, some person in 1947. Okay, in 1947, some person has defined one function called division. He defined one function called division, which is taking two parameters called a and b. This is hard to understand, guys, so please listen. Okay, this is another critical topic for today. So a lot of topics we learned today. It's a good day for us, but all one also thing is you have to have a revision for this topic, guys. Otherwise, there's a chances that you will forget or you will get confused with this topic because they are very important. So little homework is needed for revising this topic. So little revision is required for all this topic so that you get 100% confident in this topic. Yeah, thank you everyone. So let's go here and say return a divided by b, a divided by b. So this function was written in 1947. This function was written in 1947. Suppose after independence, someone has written this function division to perform division. Okay. Do you see any problem with this function? Do you see any problem with this function? Okay, Satyam thinks no. Okay, Vamshi, what is the problem? Yeah, Vamshi says if B is 0, then it will be a problem. I hope Kudal means the same. That if B is 0, it will be a problem. The program will end up with some error. Yes. Okay, for example, I am writing like this. Okay, I'll be writing like this. For example, I'll be saying C is equal to A divided by B. C is equal to A divided by B. And I'll say print hello. Print hello. Okay, and I will return C. I'll change a little bit so to make you understand what is happening. Suppose this is what I can say happy independence, suppose. I hope it spells correct. Something. He wrote in 1947. He divided the value. He also wanted to print happy independence and he wanted to return the result. Obviously, I cannot return and then print happy independence. It will not work. Now, if I run this code now, if I run this code here, okay, I will call this function called division. and I will pass two parameters like 2 comma 5. It returns me happy independence, and answer is 0.4. Answer is 0.4. It's returning me perfectly fine. Okay, 2 and 5. A is 2, B is 5. It's perfectly working now. I'll run the code again with different result. It works fine. Now I'll give the first value as I'll call division again, and I will pass 5 comma 2. It will tell me 2.5 this time, and it's printing me the result. I'll call the division again. I'll call the division again. This time I will pass 0 comma 2. It still work fine. It give me 0.0. But what if I call division and saying that 2 comma 0, it will give me an error. My program ends with error and it's not printing me happy independence as well. Because my program end up with an error. So after this error, whatever you have written will not get executed. That's what. If B value becomes 0, then it will not print it. It will not print it. Is that clear, guys? What is the problem with this code now? Now in 2021, okay, sorry, in 2020, I can say, current year. In 2020, okay, like now you wanted to change this function now. You want to decorate this function. Like it's something like it was constructed, the house is very old. Okay, there's another reason why you wanted to decorate, right? The house is very old, created by your grandfather, okay, and it's not looking good, so it will not be suitable for the conducting a function, a marriage function. So what you will do, you decorate the house. That's what Ubul mean to say, that to look good, because the house is not looking good for function, to arrange any function. You decorate in such a way that it will temporarily works fine, and after that it behaves original way, because you cannot demolish and construct the house. Yeah, re-innovate kind of thing. That's true, Shikawat. That's what you wanted to do. You wanted to re-innovate now. In 2021, I wanted to decorate this function. I don't want to have my own function called division, because we already have a function called division. I cannot make my own function called division now, because it's already there. The house, you don't want to construct another house just to arrange a marriage, right? You will not construct another house to just arrange a marriage. We just decorate this house. That's what our intention. So I don't want to create this function again. I don't want to create this function again. I just want to decorate it. So I will define, see, this is little critical. So listen, I will write my thing called smart division. I'll write my program called smart division now. Smart division, which takes function as a reference. So all the knowledge I'll be using, whatever we learned till now. Whatever we learned till now, I'll be using all the way. So listen carefully now. So I'm dividing a function called smart division in 2020, okay, which takes the function as a parameter, Now I will define the nested function, because decorators will always be implemented as a nested function. So see the use of nested function now. Everywhere we are using nested function. So I will define the function called nested function called calculate division, and it takes two parameter called a comma b, and here I will write the logic. If b is equal to 0, then you go and print something like you print oops cannot divide with 0. That's the thing I wanted to print it, at least that if we, because he didn't wrote that time, because he didn't know that the computer cannot divide by 0 at that time. That's why it took some year. Okay, it's not about 1947. Okay, some year. Wow, that's the thing. You can say anything, right? It's infinite, or it cannot be divided with 0, or I can say that's perfect. Like I can write it's infinite. So I then close this and then run it. Otherwise, you know what I should do otherwise? What should I write in else part now? If you tell else part now, it means you're understanding my concept. If you don't tell me else part, it means you didn't understood what I mean actually. Please think and answer. Please think and answer, because I'm not going to spend extra time. You have to take this in 10 minutes. So I want everybody's attention. If you tell me, explain once again, it will be very difficult, because it depends on all the concepts we learned till now. So I have to start from the scratch of the functional programming. No, please. What should I write in else part? Anybody? I didn't got the correct answer yet. So please change your answer if you think. Very good, very good, very good. That's what. Now I am getting point that I have to call function, division function now. That's what I mean. See, right? If b is not 0, I will use the same function, right? That's what I mean by decorating. You're decorating actually. If you're writing the logic again, what is the use of this function then? Getting my point, everyone? If I write again c is equal to return a by b or something, then you're writing the logic again. So what is the use of this function then? I wanted to use this function. I wanted to use this function now. Okay, so I will call, that's why I'm using this function, because this function will contain the reference of this division function. Now I will simply return the result of this function. I will call function of a comma b. Function of a comma b. Got my point, everyone? What am I doing in else part? I'm calling this function. How to call this function now? I cannot call directly this division function. Okay, I can call the function with the help of function because it's containing the reference of the division function. So here you see I'm combining many concepts. I'm combining how to take function as a parameter. I told you it's called higher order function. So decorators are generally higher order function, which takes the function name as a parameter. Local function or inner function, which takes the parameter like a and b, and b is equal to 0. It prints oops, cannot divide by 0. Otherwise it will call the function, and whatever it will return, that will be written by the smart division. Else, if this is comes out, then I will return the reference of the inner function, right? Because I have to return the reference of the inner function. Perfectly fine. Now if I run this code, which function you will call now? I can see a lot of questions will come in your mind, so please ask quickly. So which function I will call now? Smart division or division? Which function I will call? Yeah, that's true, Shikawat. Okay. That's what. How can we say a function is a reference for division function? I will answer your question. So that's what. Should I call smart division or should I call division, guys? Should I call smart division or should I call division? No, again, I should call division only. Shikawat is again correct. I should call division, right? Our intention is to call division. Our intention is to call division, not the smart division. Because I still wanted to use the function which was designed by our grandfather, not by me. I just decorating it. Understood? That's what I asked you, the definition of decoration first of all. This function is just for decorating the division now. This is not my major function. But the question from Ubul is like, okay, the question is like how he knows that it will pass the reference. That will automatically happens implicitly, guys. One more thing I have to do here, I have to inject that smart division here. I have to inject that smart division. This is called injecting. You're telling that whenever I call the smart division, please execute the smart division automatically and automatically pass the references and do this thing, everything automatically. I will simply call like division, guys. For me, it's something simple like division only. I don't know what is this all about. I think it's the spelling mistake. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Satyam. So it's smart division now. I will run the code again. This time I don't know whether there is a function or not. I just decorated it. Now I will call with division. I will check with 5 comma 2. It is working fine. It's working fine. Okay. Now I will write my division. Now it will make sense, guys. Now it will make sense. Okay. It's very difficult, guys, because the whole thing is little typical. Okay. So now I will call division with 2 comma 0. Now you will see that the use of smart division Satyam. Now it will say oops cannot divide with 0. Previously it was not working, now it was working. So that means decoration or decorator. Got the point now? See the program. See the program and answer yourself. Or let's see for a couple of minutes. Any questions? See, I'm just decorating my function now. My intention was to decorate this function to solve the problem. What was the problem with this function? Division by 0. So that's I decorated. But your function is not the actual function, guys. The actual function is division only. People will call division only because they are using since 1947. So they don't want to use your function. They wanted to use this function only. But there was a problem with this function, so you decorated the function. That is temporary purpose only. Once you remove this function or once you remove this line, your division will work same. That's what I took the example of your house. So once you your old house, you decorated it. Once you remove the decoration, it will remain as an old house only. But if you decorate for different purpose, you can use them. We are using division before division function only. Smart division, I'm using it. I'm injecting this function now. This is called injection. I'm injecting this function here. So whenever you call the division function, it knows this function got injected now. So it calls a smart division automatically. It internally pass the division reference, pass the values as well, whatever you're passing, both the values will be passed. So all these things will be done automatically. So I'm not calling this function, I just define the function the way it required. Any mistake in this function will give you an error. Yes, decorating to your actual house only, na Shikawat? You're decorating to the actual house only. So this is what our intention actually. I wanted to decorate my actual house, but the decoration I will define later sometime, how to decorate. I've written the logic how to decorate here. Now I'm decorating here. That's why it's called decorator function. Yeah, I will open the shell prompt now. You see, I'm just calling like previous one only. I'm just calling the previous one only. I call something, it prints happy independence and say 2.5, and it's printing 2.0, it says cannot divide by 0 because this function is not getting executed now. That's why it's not printing happy independence, because if is getting executed, not else. Yes, this decorator can also be used for other functions, Kiran. If this decoration will be useful for other functions, you can use them. But it's a temporary function, specially meant for this function, but it can be used. Yes, if you don't write this, it will not work, guys. You will not injecting it. It will not work. It will work same as the previous one. Now, if I call division with 2,0, it behaves like original one. It behaves original one and ends with error. If I don't write that line, you're not injecting it. You're not decorating it. Got it, Abhishek? That line makes sense because you're decorating it. You're selling that whatever the function I wrote, please apply that function here. That decoration you apply here. Okay. Thank you for your questions, Kiran, Ubul, and Abhishek. Anybody else having question in decorator? Okay. Thank you, Narendra. So a lot of concepts we discussed, please revise. It's required revision, especially. Okay. So again, tomorrow's session will be interesting and confusing. So why I'm telling this, because we have to mentally prepare. Okay, our need more attention. That's the only thing. Nothing else. Okay, if your attention will be more and you ask more questions now. That's why I told you last time. These topics need to have more questions. Yes, finally, decorator means adding some changes to the previous function. Yes, that's what means decoration. Decorate means functions are independent code, Vamshi. You can decorate any number of functions if it suit. You can decorate any number of functions if you suit, no problem. I can have one more function where I'm injecting that code again, no problem, if it is suitable. Otherwise, we cannot do that. Okay, thank you for your question. Satyam, sorry, I didn't got your question, like where function is cal, I didn't get you, sorry. Calculate is an inner function, smart division is an outer function. Function is a reference to the division function. A comma B is a parameter, it's implicitly passing. So if your question is how it's getting called, it is happening all implicitly, guys. It's all happening implicitly. It's implicitly passing the reference of the division function to smart division and getting the reference of the inner function, calling the inner function, passing the parameter, everything happening implicitly. Because just you injected, it will take care of everything. So if anybody did not understood completely, then it's okay. Then don't worry about it. You can ask, you can go through and ask me questions someday. Okay. But all the topics what we discuss are very important. Closures, non-local variables, decorators, nested function, taking a function as a parameter, returning a function as a parameter. So this is a beauty of functional programming. It's the beauty of functional programming. So you don't find all these things in C, Java and all because they don't support functional programming. But now you see Java 8 started supporting functional programming. So you'll find all these things in Java now. No, we didn't use a big code actually. Not simple division because it's about error, Abhishek. Because program is getting terminated. The problem is the program is getting terminated abnormally, which is not correct. For that, we wrote this logic. Smart division fun is a variable actually. It's a name of the function. It's a variable reference which contains the reference of the function actually. When we call smart division, then a function takes 2 arguments for call division. Yes, Satyam, that's true. And it's happening implicitly. And it's happening implicitly. Okay, so one more thing that tomorrow morning session, you can come up with your doubts, guys. Please revise everything and can ask some question. Not like to explain everything in detail. That will be very difficult, right? To 1 hour session or 1.5 hour session to discuss in 5 minutes, 10 minutes will be not justifiable. So come up with your some question, okay, with all any of the topic. So let's have a good revision tomorrow. It's about Narendra. You cannot have multiple injections. You can have only one function injected in another function. Actually, not exactly if possible. I'll send some homework, but the homework is only revision, Shikawat. If you revise, then you will get some problems to be solved. A different problem you'll come up with. You come up with your own problem. That's why, and share in a group possibly, so that everybody will solve that problem. So I want you to work now instead of me giving you something, because I told you this is subject in itself. The more you do research, the more you get perfect. So that's why I told you from now the way of learning will change now, because they are vast. Okay, they are vast. So I cannot justify in 2 classes, 3 classes about it, but we'll cover what is required. But if you really wanted to learn functional programming, you have to start reading textbook for functional programming using Python. So at least you have to read 500, 600 page book. Then you can tell you are good with functional programming now. I'm just giving you a kick, a start. It just is a baby step. Okay. So you're taking a baby step now. Now you have to start walking. Got my point, everyone? So your homework is do revision. Yeah, your homework is do revision and come up with question, Vamshi. Instead of me revising the thing, you come up with question. I think if you take this screenshots and if you work on this, because you will spend at least some time, right, with these problems. So if you spend some time with this problem, your understanding level will increase. And please come up with a question so that I will explain you tomorrow, because I will be keeping this program as it is so that I'll explain tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, Vamshi. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Have a good day, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Prashanti. Some people are becoming silent. That's not acceptable, guys. I told you these topics, everybody should talk. If you have more questions, it will be more easy for us, guys, because the complexity of the topic is increasing as you see. Yeah, thank you, Daljit Singh. Thank you, Kudal. Thank you, Nitin. So everybody should participate now. Everybody should come up with some question, because if we have a 30 question on the topic, maybe some questions may be similar. So my job will become easy, guys. That's what I told you last time. Come up with doubts, your interaction. Even I told you you need to speak out now. Return function a comma b. How does to calculate then function? Satyam, sorry, again, you want to speak, I will allow you to speak, but I need to understand like what is your question actually. See, what happening here is the function contains the reference of division. You're calling division actually, passing this two parameter a comma b, and whatever this division will return, this will return here, and you're returning back. No, there is no multiple injection possible, Shikawat. There is no multiple injection possible. There is only one injection possible. Okay, I can see, but I want you to spend time, guys. I know today I have to end up with your doubts, but that is required because the concept is typical. So do some homework and then come with your doubts. Then I will discuss this again tomorrow. Let us spend 15 minutes tomorrow instead of today, because that will be more fruitful than today's 15 minutes. I can spend 15 minutes extra today, no problem. Okay, no problem, Shikawat. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay, because at 9 I used to have another batch. Okay, so no problem at all. That's why I ask you all that ask me question when we are doing it, because it will be very difficult to revise the concepts, such concepts. So that's why I'll keep asking you question. I'll keep asking you like, do you have any question regarding that? So please stop me there itself and ask me. It will be easy for me as well as for you to discuss about it. Okay. No, they will decorate to this function now, not to this function. They will decorate to this function now. They will inject here. Got the point, Shikawat? So every function can inject only one function. They will inject here. When they call division, they will call smart division. Smart division can make another function. You can make a chain, but you cannot have multiple injections. Got no point, Shikawat? Yeah. Same decorator gets updated always. That's true. So it's you can make a chain of it. Okay, sorry for today, but come up with your questions, guys. I would like to answer all your questions tomorrow.